Welcome back. It's Fight Sports Uncovered with me, Mark Joubert, exclusively live right here on Love World Sat. Friday afternoon. It's time for a massive, massive build-up to a big weekend of punchy-kicky action. And for the most part, it is all about punchy-kicky action this weekend. Not so much big boxing action. A heck of a lot of good MMA taking place this weekend. And we're going to break it all down for you. Two big things we want to talk about today. Invicta FC and their new fight rules that they're going to be putting out there for the very first time this weekend. And then it's the big one. It's UFC 248. 2 title fights on the line. And we're talking about numbered UFCs with title fights. Very different conversation than we had about a week ago. And to talk me through all of this, because I think there's a bigger story that we've also got to talk about, is a gentleman who's he started off, when I first met him a long time ago, very much a football fanatic. And over the last sort of year or so, we've gradually been transitioning into the combat sports space. Maybe he's starting to get a little bit of fight sports running around his blood as opposed to the football side of things. A man that is not anybody that you guys haven't seen before here on the show. Welcoming him back to the show is Thuma Mwandla. Thuma, thanks so much for joining us on the show tonight.
Thanks for having me, Mark. Very excited. I think the transition is almost complete. I'm back here on FSU again, and exciting weekend. I mean, you've got a whole lot of announcements that have come out. Like you said, you've got a big fight sports weekend as well, and to unpack there. And of course, I'm going to try and stay away from that president's tag as I unpack, especially that UFC fight.
We're definitely going to keep the president's tag far away from today's conversation.
Yeah.
But I think the big one for me is it's been a while that we've been talking a lot, bouncing between football and talking combat sports. You've now been exposed to a number of combat sports events, not only at professional level, but also at amateur level. Your immediate thoughts now in terms of this sport of MMA, Muay Thai, boxing that you've now started to become a little bit more engrossed in?
It's been an exciting journey, I must say. I mean, it's something, when you look at combat sports, you're just thinking blood and gore. You're not looking really at the technical aspect of it, because when you just pass by your screen, you're like, these guys, let's chase around a soccer ball. It looks much better. But you've taken me to some of these events. I mean, like you said, I've seen some pro fights, I've seen some amateur fights, and then the differences are absolutely amazing. And then when you see it on TV now and you're looking at the bigger fights now, you're talking about your McGregor, Mayweather, Pacquiao, you have an understanding a little bit more of what's going on there, and the technical aspect is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, who would have thought that there's a whole science to throwing a punch?
The science, the sweet science.
The sweet science of it all. And I must say, it's been an absolutely amazing journey and I'm enjoying it.
Absolutely glad to hear that. For all you fans out there, you'll obviously know that massive UFC weekend coming up. But before that, there's been some incredible news breaking over the last couple of days. And one of those pieces of news is the fact that Dillian Whyte's next fight has been announced. It's against Alexander Povetkin, and that's set to take place at the Manchester Arena on May the 2nd. Added to that is another big one. It's Anthony Joshua's next big fight has also been announced, and that's up against Kubrat Pulev. That's set to take place in a football stadium, and the date there seems to be June the 20th. Now, we started off saying how you've transitioned and are busy transitioning from football into fighting. Yeah. Fighting now taking place in football stadiums. Great space for the guys that like to get a bit of action on the side at a football game to come and watch some real fights.
And it's at a beautiful stadium. I think the synergies are starting to blend very well between football and fighting there. You're looking at that Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Guys spent £1 billion on it.
Wow.
I mean, it's a massive piece of art there. And I think what bigger name than AJ to really pull in the crowd there? Will they fill it out? I think so. I mean, you're looking at the numbers at the last fight. Of course, it didn't involve AJ. You had the Deontay Wilder Fury fight. The ticket sales, I think, were almost at the gate, topping out at about £17 million. So imagine you're going to a football stadium that's packing out, I think, about 60 to 70,000 people. It's going to be absolutely amazing. I don't know if they're going to use the whole thing, of course, but the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium is probably one of the best in the world right now. And AJ, representing in his hometown, North London. Yes, he's got that Nigerian heritage there,
Yeah.
but he is at home in North London. It's going to be something absolutely phenomenal to watch. And the fact that it's going to be a build-up to another big match on the 18th of July is going to be something exceptional as well.
Absolutely. So both heavyweights are British fighters.
Yeah.
So big up for British boxing at the moment. British boxing can only grow from strength to strength as we take it on now. The big question obviously is, forget about the number 3. Will we ultimately see those two big British heavyweights clash? I don't know. I would love to see that.
And I would have loved to have seen it as the next fight. I think take nothing away from Putlev there, take nothing away from the rivalry that is built up between Wilder and Fury as well there. But I think the fact that you've got the IBO, the WBA, as well as the Linear and WBC World Heavyweight.
And the Ring as well.
And the Ring, I mean, I think it's about 6 championships all in the UK. It would have made sense that the next fight be Fury against AJ, just to see if they can unify it and then give your other guys a chance, your Deontay Wilders and your Dylan White. I think that would have been nice. That would have brought some consistency to the sport, and not the fact that we're just looking now to really sell tickets and to sell a rivalry.
Absolutely. Moving away from boxing, and news out that MMA legend Chuck Liddell has retired for now. We'll wait and see if there is a retirement on, retirement off story. But the big question is, he seems to be showing a lot of interest in doing what a number of his other MMA fellow athletes have done, and that big move from MMA into WWE. You'll recall that Ronda Rousey, Cain Velasquez, and also Ken Shamrock was the original one that has moved across from MMA into WWE. Big question there, could we see a Tito Ortiz versus Chuck Liddell WWE match? Play stuff at best.
Definitely is play stuff at best. I think it's a shift that makes sense later on in your career. I think the two organizations are finding, like I said before, a little bit of a synergy between each other. I think Cain Velasquez was definitely the biggest surprise. I never imagined Cain Velasquez in a WWE ring. And to hear that Tito is also considering it, going back to training at the age of 40 plus, it's quite interesting as well. But it's one of those. It's just play. It's entertainment. Let's not say play. It's entertainment. So they're looking to entertain us more now. But I'm still a bigger MMA fan. Absolutely.
The other big news is that the Judo Grand Prix, set to be held in Morocco, has now been cancelled due to the coronavirus outbreak. You'll recall that it's been little over, just less than 48 hours since the first case of coronavirus has been recorded within Morocco. And as a result of that, the sports ministry has literally closed down all public gatherings. So the other news earlier this morning is that all Moroccan football matches will be played behind closed doors. So a huge knock to many global sports. It's not just limited to what we saw, one championship on Friday night being fought behind closed doors. It's now football, and the news out of the BBC that England's Six Nations match against the Italians has also been postponed. So coronavirus really making its presence felt on the sporting field.
Yeah, it's definitely been having a big impact since it sprung up, is it late December, November time into this year. No one thought that it would break out of China as quickly as it did and impact a place as big as Italy. I mean, Italy has got a growing league in Serie A. I mean, you're looking at Juve and what Inter Milan and Roma are doing there, acquiring players, and for a league that is growing. I mean, when you talk about Italy, you're talking about broadcasting rights. Correct. Who wants to see Inter Milan and Juve played behind closed doors in an empty stadium when you can actually hear Cristiano Ronaldo calling out the name of Paulo Dybala? It doesn't add to that atmosphere and the ambience that we want to see in such big games. So it's definitely being felt. And it's no surprise that Morocco is closing doors and its leagues are being played behind closed doors. So it's definitely something we've got to take a good look at, and hopefully it'll pass by.
Looking at the concept of pay-per-view, the combat sports space has utilized the pay-per-view idea very well. I mean, look at some of the biggest pay-per-view numbers have come out of and off the back of the likes of Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor. Is there a big opportunity for the other sports now, bearing in mind that the Serie A has now been closed down for a month behind closed doors? You've got announcements that Morocco closing down behind closed doors. Is there a big opportunity now for pay-per-view to suddenly go absolutely global in other sports?
I think it definitely is an opportunity for it, but now it's identifying which sports. I mean, you've got the bigger sports, like you're saying in football, that is closing its doors there. You've also had a little bit of an impact on South Africa's tour. I heard of India might be a little bit sketchy as well there. So do you go to cricket now? Rugby is seemingly affected there, but it does definitely open up a huge door for pay-per-view to go to other sporting codes, but it's going to be interesting to see which ones. I mean, it's hard to shift away from the traditional three being soccer, football, and rugby.
Cricket and rugby, yeah. It's football, soccer, depending on where you come from in the world.
Yeah, it does.
Looking ahead, we did say that it's a big MMA weekend and two other big MMA events that are worth noting. First up, it's over to the Gold Coast, where the IMAF Oceania Open Championships take place, and some 15 nations going to be represented there. And then right back here to South Africa, where over in KwaZulu-Natal, it is the SA National Amateur MMA Championships starting today and taking place through until the end of the weekend. So we wish all of those athletes the best of luck. We'll bring you all of the outcomes in Monday night's show. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, it's time to get into it all. What's happening at Invicta this weekend, and then the big one, UFC with 2 title fights on the line. We'll see you right after this.
Introducing the new, fresh, and exciting Rhapsody of Realities app 3.0. The Messenger Angel Rhapsody of Realities just got a new updated app for reading Rhapsody daily articles. Enjoy reading and listening to your Rhapsody on the go while taking advantage of these amazing features. Brand new design. Enjoy the new design built to take advantage of the latest technologies to make your app experience awesome. It's simpler and easier to use. With just one click, you have access to the article for the day. It's that easy. Sync notes. Pin down moments of divine inspiration while studying the devotional and sync them to the cloud to be available anywhere, anytime. A new interactive store. Visit the store and get all books by Reverend Dr. Chris Oyakhilome for people of all ages and download them to your library. Store your favorite books in an easy access folder. Enjoy unlimited access when you upgrade to our premium subscription. Gain access to the complete package of Rhapsody of Realities every month. This includes the entire month's devotional on the go with free audio devotional add-ons. Track your reading habits daily with our automated calendar and identify unread days for the devotional. Read further studies right within the app. Download the new Rhapsody mobile app today for free and be inspired anytime and everywhere on the go. Available on the Google Play Store.
Welcome back, Fight Sports Uncovered with me, your host Mark Joubert, exclusively live right here. I say live, yeah, right here, Love World Set. And if you were listening to the first part of the show, you would have heard some of the massive impacts that the coronavirus is having around the world on sporting events. I also heard from my guest, Thuma Mwandla, about his thoughts in terms of this transition from football into combat sports and how he's been taking it and how positive it's been for him in terms of learning a little bit more about the various sciences around becoming educated in violence, if we could call it that. The big thing for this weekend, and talking about being educated in violence, Invicta Phoenix Series 3 announced that they were going to be showcasing a brand new way of rule sets, particularly for the judging. And what they're calling it is open judging. The local athletic commission has given the go-ahead for Invicta to test open judging. And what I mean by open judging is the fact that at the end of every single round, the judges' scores will be made public. Now, just first off, you hearing this for the first time.
Yeah.
You having been to a couple of pro fights, you've been to a couple of amateur events. What is your initial thoughts on this kind of open style of judging?
Well, I don't know if it's because of the relationship that me and you have, Mark, but as soon as you said it, the first thing that popped to mind had to be John Jones, Reyes. Okay, I'm looking at this, and how nice would that have been if you were to see each round for round how the judges would score it there. They would probably, I'll be honest right now, a couple of weeks down the line, that probably the outcome would be different. So this is definitely something I'm looking forward to. It would be nice to see it, I mean, as the crowd, because although there's that element of it all when you're watching the match, you're still asking yourself who won it. But now it's going to be right there, plain blank in your face there, unless it goes obviously to the final round there of who the ultimate winner is. And I think that's going to be a fairer way of looking at it all. I mean, it's been happening, I think, in boxing when you're looking at the Olympics, where you're seeing the score tick over live there and there. It eliminates a lot of human error, if I can put it that way, and you're seeing a more fair reflection of the fight.
How big an impact do you think it's going to have on the athletes and their corners themselves? Because following on round one, I can see that I have decisively taken you apart that round. Following on round two, you have now taken that advantage back and you're up on round two. Now in an MMA fight, I'm into that final round. Does that change the way my strategy goes into this round?
It's definitely going to make you think a lot more in that. And from my experience in fighting, if you think too much, that can be quite dangerous. So you're going to see a lot of fights swing from one way to the other, and coaches probably trying to get their guys to stay away from looking at that scorecard there. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how the dynamics play out. But definitely, if you think too much, you're going to get yourself knocked out.
Absolutely. Probably call it an historic moment this weekend at Invicta. We're going to watch it and have a look and see what some of the outcomes, some of the feedback has been from what is arguably, and in our experience of watching many fights, a potentially groundbreaking opportunity to level the playing fields in combat sports. But Invicta aside, it's now time for us to build up to the big one. Yes, and we're only a couple of sleeps away from UFC 248. And we spoke a week ago about the fact that there was a title fight on the line at a UFC event, not a numbered event, definitely an under-marketed event. But talking about UFC 248, most certainly not under-marketed in any way, shape and form. And particularly when it comes to that main event. That main event I'm referring to is the title fight between Israel Adesanya and Yoel Romero. Your initial thoughts on seeing these two guys go head-to-head?
My initial thoughts is, wow, I mean, Israel is a brave man for accepting this fight and letting it go through, if it does happen. And I say that if because I heard that Yoel Romero is still 13 pounds overweight. Will it be another case where he doesn't make weight once again? But it's going to be quite an exceptional one, because you've got Israel Adesanya, 18-0, putting it on the line against a man many people call the boogeyman and are afraid to face. I mean, you look at the guy, Yoel Romero there, he's like a miniature action figure. I mean, it's hard to believe that the guy is 42 years old, and you've seen the kind of power that he packs in a punch there. Will the weight advantage, if he is able to catch the 6 kga, will it play a little bit of a role in that match? I think so, because Israel looks a bit skinny at times for me. Yes, he's in the right weight category there, but then you ask yourself the second question as well. Isn't it time for Yoel Romero to maybe consider going up to light heavyweight?
He's already said he doesn't want to go and fight at light heavyweight, and he's given all of his reasons for not moving up to light heavyweight. But the big thing for me is we've got two contrasting athletes coming up against each other. You've got the sophisticated striking of the style bender, okay, as he's now become known, and then you've got the raw brute strength of Yoel Romero. He is arguably the most dangerous middleweight on the roster.
Definitely.
Nobody calls him out. Nobody wants to fight against him, because quite simply, if you look at his record, he doesn't give you an easy fight. And to beat Yoel Romero, we look back just 2-3 fights ago, you have to get a almost razor-thin split decision victory to beat Yoel Romero. He doesn't give away easy fights. The big question for me is both of these guys, all of their fights, none of them have won on the ground by submission. And yet, Yoel Romero is an Olympic silver medalist in wrestling. Me, I want to see Yoel Romero take it to the ground. We've never seen Stylebender pushed on the ground.
True.
And I just have this sneaky suspicion in my waters that if Yoel Romero takes it to the ground, he could become the next middleweight champion. But your point is very valid.
Yeah.
Will he cut those 13 pounds? Will he make weight? Because if he doesn't make weight,
It's not
the
going to
strap
happen.
stays with Izzy.
It's not going to happen. And listen, you're looking at 13 pounds, you converted here locally, it's about 6 kgs, which is quite a lot. And you're looking at the pictures coming out from your Romero's camp, and he still looks a bit bulky to me. So it's a match that I'm really hoping will happen. I think it's a match that if Israel is to win, like you're saying, he's going to be pushed all the way to the limit. Listen, I'll be quite honest. I wrote off Israel Adesanya in the Whittaker match. I didn't think he had the class to beat out Whittaker, but surprisingly enough, he showed us, should we call it a knockout power that no one expected from him there? Yes, he had a few goals at him there, but he finally did deliver that final knockout blow there, and he showed it off a little bit, saying that no one thought I had the knockout power in my hands there. But you're looking at a completely different fighter, like you're saying, in Yoel. And he's a machine, and I fear for Israel if this match is to happen.
Let's just unpack that a little bit.
Yeah.
You've got Israel Adesanya, arguably the next poster boy for the UFC. In less than 2 years, he went from debut to middleweight champion. In that process, okay, his first year, 2018, he fought 4 times. Second year, he fought 3 times. In amongst those 3 fights, the first one, Anderson Silva.
Huge fight.
Absolute legend.
Yeah.
Second one, Kelvin Gastelum in that 5-round stand-up war. That 5th round is, in my opinion, one of the greatest championship rounds ever in MMA history.
Yeah.
And then, within the first 2 rounds of the official middleweight title fight, he knocks out Robert Whittaker. Just to contextualize that, Yoel Romero has fought Robert Whittaker twice, 10 rounds, and has never been able to beat Yoel Romero. On the flip side, Yoel Romero was never able to beat Robert Whittaker. Adesanya did it in 2 rounds.
I mean, that's when you put it that way, you're thinking to yourself, yeah, he probably does have a good chance. And listen, I'm not saying he doesn't, but you're looking at Yoel Romero, man, the build of the man. You're looking at the aggression that he brings to it. You're looking at what he said at one of the pre-match interviews, that if Israel makes a small mistake, that's going to be the end of him. And listen, I've looked at Israel's game. There's quite a lot of flaws in it. Like you're saying, he hasn't been taken to the ground. Yes, Yoel doesn't go to the ground as much as you'd expect him to, especially with the credentials that he does have. But I'm looking at it, and I don't think this is a fight that Israel is quite ready for. Honestly.
We're going to have to wait and see.
We will have to wait and see.
Another interesting fact. Adesanya is tied for the 3rd most takedowns, okay, in the division's history. Who's the man he's tied with?
John Jones.
Yoel Romero.
Oh.
Going to be an interesting matchup. I cannot wait to see the outcome of this come early hours. I think it's Sunday morning.
Yeah.
But the other big fight for me, and I mentioned at the beginning, the previous flyweight bout, very undermarketed. This UFC 248, very, very much marketed. But the one component of it that I still feel very much undermarketed is that strawweight ladies title fight. Zhang Weili up against Joanna Jędrzejczyk, former champion, up against the current champion. Joanna wants her title back. Zhang has said it's staying with China. Probably the best thing that's ever happened to the UFC, getting that first Chinese champion. Here, once again, a similar sort of matchup. We've got a powerful puncher, powerful striker in Zhang, and we've got an incredibly quick and incredibly nimble fighter in terms of Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Your thoughts on how you see this going?
Listen, Mark, what I'm going to say here, 60% of me right now is saying that...
Is that the bottom half, top half?
Let's say it's the top half. Okay, it's saying that this is probably the main event of UFC 248. I don't see the other fight we discussed going to it. I don't think will cut the weight. So this is definitely the fight that I think we probably have to concentrate on. And it's sort of like a poetic justice, the fact that it hasn't been advertised as much. That is the strawweight bouts in the females. They've been taken to, like you said, most of them to fight nights, or even the UFC on Fox before it was, and then UFC on ESPN
correct.
now it is. So this is probably, I'm sure Dana White is not going to be happy about it, but this is probably what the fans are going to see at the end of the night. But anyway, I'm looking at it, and like you're saying, two women with fantastic credentials here, but I'm looking at the champion, and I'm looking at her defending it. I think she just has it.
You think so?
I think so.
Well, for me, the big question is the fact that once again, and we're going to raise this coronavirus issue, is that she had to leave China soon after it was announced, and she left China early in February, went to Thailand, then off to Abu Dhabi, and then through to the States. The big question for me is, how much has that traveling affected her in terms of the build up to this, and what are her energy levels going to be like come fight night? Because we all know if you've traveled a lot, that amount of traveling takes a heck of a lot out of you.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen jet lag and what it's done to some athletes in the past there, but then we had a young South African guy who left here a few months ago. You spoke about him on the show. I'm just trying to remember his name there, but he Bekang, he basically jetted out and was in action a day later, and he did the business. So I'm asking, why can't Lang do the same thing?
Absolutely. The other big fight for me on this card that has a certain sort of cachet is the return of Sugar Sean O'Malley. He's been out for 2 years as a result of those 2 doping infractions, as well as some surgery. Very interesting to see how he comes back. Remember, at the time that he was caught for doping, he was 10-0. Now, after 2 years of training, new camp, new coach, new style, really focusing on his ground game, I'm excited to see what Sugar Sean is going to bring to that card. Cannot wait. For me, I'm going to make my predictions. I think Yol won't make weight, and I think he will probably beat Izzy at the end of things. Regarding that ladies fight, I'm going to go with you on that. I think Zhang Weili will retain the title.
So for the first time, we're unanimous.
We're in agreement. Can we shake on that?
I think so.
Absolutely.
This is an absolutely
Thank you very
fantastic
much.
one.
Until Monday night, when we break it all down for you and we get to see if my predictions as well as Thuma's predictions have come true. You guys, hope you're going to enjoy a great weekend. If you are in the Durban area, get down, go and check out the local action. Yes, it is the SA Amateur Nationals taking place in Umhlanga. Get down there. It is free, so for all you fans, don't have to fork out a cent to go and watch the country's best in action. But until Monday night, protect yourselves at all times. See you then. Good night.